announcement.
Very warm good afternoon, Untitled gathered here. Announcement for the participants. Kindly mute your audio and turn off your video during the session. Kindly join the webinar meeting in your name and mention your department and type the same in the chat box. If you have any question, please post your question in the chat window during the webinar. On your behalf, the moderator will raise your questions to the resource person. Kindly submit your feedback immediately at the end of the session and then sign out when the moderator asks you to do. Whenever you experience any connection problem, kindly click the link or use the meeting ID and password to enter into the webinar room. Thank you. Have a happy learning. Now may I request our coordinator, Mr. Joe Pascal Xavier, to welcome the gathering. Sir, please. Good afternoon, one and all. With God's abundant blessing on us, we shall begin this webinar with a formal welcome address. At the outset, let me give a hearty welcome to our administrators, Reverend Dr. Henry Jerome, our rector, and Reverend Father Alphonse Manikin, our secretary, and to our principal, Reverend Dr. Maria S.J. A hearty welcome, fathers. And I'm happy to welcome our resource person, respected Dr. Amalanathan, Head, School of Business and Management, Christ, deemed to be University, Bangalore, Karnataka. A hearty welcome, sir. And it's my pleasure to welcome Dr. Arakidas, HOD of Farmers, and all our colleagues for this webinar. I also extend a hearty welcome to Dr. Ludusami, the Director of IKC. And finally, I'm very, very happy to welcome all the participants for this webinar. Okay. Now, before getting into the session, let me give a brief introduction about our department. Department of Commerce SHIP2 was started in the year 1998 to cater to the needs of the students from our locality and from different neighboring villages, districts. And now it has gone to grow as the biggest department in our college with the 2 sections we have. And this academic year, we are starting another section. And we have qualified, experienced, and dedicated staff. And regarding our students, they are always royal and loyal and talented a lot. They participate in every activities at the college level, at the department level, at the intercollegiate level, and they bring many laurels to our college, to our department, and for themselves. And with great support from our management and able guidance from our parent department, we are marching ahead with for greater glory. With this brief introduction, let me now invite Dr. Rahul Anthony Golden to introduce the resource person and moderate the session. Thank you, sir. Once again, very warm good afternoon to all the virtual participants. A warm greetings from that is Anthony Ravi Golden. It gives me an immense pleasure to introduce our esteemed speaker, that is Amalanathan, Head, School of Business and Management, Christ, deemed to be University, Bangalore. He has completed his undergraduation from Manomunim Sundaranath University, Tirunelveli, and he has done his PG and MPhil in Commerce from Loyola College, Chennai. He has awarded doctorate degree from University of Madras, Chennai. He also completed MBA from Pondicherry University. He has participated in various conferences and seminars and presented papers in various seminars and conferences. He also published articles in international journal with a high impact factors. He has published a reference book on microfinance in India, emerging trends and challenges. He also served as keynote speaker in various national, international level seminars organized by different institutions. His expertise in delivering talks on microfinance, entrepreneurship, and so on. He is at our midst to talk on startups to uplift India. On behalf of the management and the Department of Commerce, shift to St. Xavier's College, Palayam Kotai, and all the virtual participants, I welcome the resource person for this session. Welcome, sir. Now the session is handed over to Dr. Amalanathan, the resource person of the session. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hope I'm audible.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So at the outset, let me thank the Department of Commerce and Xavier's College, Palayam Kotai, for giving me this opportunity to address on this given topic, startups to uplift India. In fact, at the outset, let me also make a claim, claim that this was aimed for students of Commerce Department of St. Xavier's. Okay. Some disturbance on the screen. Okay, shall I proceed?
Participants, please don't do anything on the screen. Participants, please. Thank you.
Okay. So, in fact, this is a period of pandemic where, there are so many business houses finding it very difficult to run their, regular business. At the same time, we also see there are so many new businesses that have, found their opportunities during this pandemic as well. It is not only during any pandemic that there are opportunities for new businesses to emerge. It is always open. Only
sorry for disturbance, sir.
Yes.
This is host. Simply want to do some options in your screen, sir.
No, I didn't get you, sir.
Another, sir.
Yes.
Nothing, sir. Go to the more in screen sharing, more option.
1 second. New share.
Okay. Are you having a more option, sir? More menu.
Is it advanced?
Nothing in more option in the top of the screen. You have a more in screen share, sir. More option, more menu.
Okay, 1 second. Yes, more.
Disable participants annotate.
Disable party. Okay, fine.
Okay, sir. Then you can carry on, sir. No one can do.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, so I was talking about the situation now, the pandemic situation. This has given lots of uncertainties to everyone. Therefore, this is relevant to discuss at this point in time the young minds who are about to graduate or who have just graduated, and what is their role in uplifting the Indian economy. So my talk will be very generic. It is not going to be very specific with the economic data, but it will be more of a kind of a motivation to young minds who want to aspire as entrepreneurs. Why this topic is relevant? Okay. If you look at, there are more than 50% of India's population in today's context is below the age of 25. When I say that the majority of the population in India is below the age of 25, it can be seen in two ways, either as an asset or as a liability. If this young population is being properly oriented and they are being given due chance and opportunities to explore their potentials, I'm sure they are going to be good assets to the country. But if these young population are not being properly oriented and they are denied of the options or opportunities, I'm sure they can be liabilities to this country. So keeping this in mind, and also there are the statistics says that the unemployment rate among youth is 30 percentage. If ask any youngsters who graduate, at least today you see a changing trend among the youngsters. Gone are the days where people used to desperately look only for the government jobs or any other jobs in the private sectors. But today, at least in the metropolitan cities and urban places, this trend is changing. Students have slowly begun to think outside the box, and they have begun to realize that entrepreneurship is and also an option for them available. So, what entrepreneurs are going to do, and why we have to speak about entrepreneurship? Entrepreneurs can change the way that we live and work. If you look at in the past, 1 decade also, if at all we have led, we have begun to lead a convenient, comfortable life. Yeah, like if you want to travel anywhere today, you have so many cabs, Ola, Uber, okay, and other transport providers, wherein they try to make our life more comfortable with so much of facilities, and anywhere you just book your cab at any time, and you get your service extended. Same is the case with other apps like Zomato and others, wherein you can sit at home, you can place your orders, and the food gets delivered at your doorsteps. And all these services are making our life today comfortable, and it has even changed our way of living also. So it also has started somewhere with one person's thinking. That entrepreneur has changed today the life what we are living. Sometimes we have no other options. We have to get used to such changes. That is a power that an entrepreneur can have in this society. So entrepreneurs not only invent a new business model, but they also create more jobs. Yeah, that's where it's very important. When we have the increasing number of unemployment in the country, and blessed with so much of young population, it is in need of the hour that entrepreneurs also equally emerge. Only then they will be able to provide jobs to many, and in turn they will also create wealth for themselves and for the country at large. If you look at entrepreneurship, in my opinion, is a cyclic process. It starts with an innovative idea, with an entrepreneur's in the entrepreneur's mind, in the form of creating a business. Once a business is being created, it does not aim at only fulfilling one's own desires, but it is always aimed at creating some value to the end users, that is the customers, maybe in the form of a product or in the form of a service. So every business that is created by an entrepreneur aims at adding some value to the end users. Now, in this process, when an entrepreneur begins to add value, in whatever the way the possible, you will see that the jobs creation also begins. Okay, because alone you cannot do, as your demands increase for your products or service, you definitely require more manpower. This in turn leads to creation of jobs, and many would be employed. When many people get employment and they start their income generation through this employment, that will lead to consumption. Okay, not only among the employees, otherwise also the general public begins to consume more and more, and this in turn always gives scope and space for new entrepreneurial activities. So one need not think at this century that already there are so many existing businesses. What am I going to do, and will I have any opportunities to start any new businesses? This is that is absolutely a wrong thought. You will always find that even an existing business will find one day as an obsolete, and new ones and new startups emerge as the need of the hour. Like, so this is an ongoing process, and every time in the phase of history, you will see new entrepreneurs emerging to meet the needs of that particular society or region at that given point in time. So this is a cyclic process. It never ends. It keeps on going. You look at all these apps, all these are in the startups in India. You can if you're interested, you can go and read their history, how all these people have started, and all these businesses are unique, and something, it's not something extraordinary that nobody had thought of. And these are all simple ideas, but they have executed it with lots of risk and courage, and today they are seen to be successful entrepreneurs. So to be a successful entrepreneur, this is an important characteristics that one must possess. It's not enough that you have an idea or a business model, but you should also have enough courage to take the risk of executing your ideas. I'm just going to cite a few examples. These examples are very specific to two of these examples from Tamil Nadu and one from Bangalore, keeping the audience in mind. And these two videos will be in Tamil, one video will be in English. This first, the person that I'm showing you now is Mrs. Gunavati Chandrasekharan. She is hailing from a small village in Dindikal district. And if you look at her life story, she had a polio attack when she was 2 years old. And she got married when she was 16. And her educational qualification, if you look at, she is just SSLC. But she had the opportunity even to deliver a guest lecture at British Council. To that extent, she has grown as a successful entrepreneur. And she was even being awarded as district award by the Tamil Nadu government for her successful steps that she has taken in creating a business model and employing many women in the surroundings. So this video will tell us what she did, and how she was recognized by people for what.
Sir, there is no audio, sir.
Okay, hope the video was very clear to you. She is found to be a very successful woman in the locality because she had the courage. Also, it is not only her intention, but she was also equally supported by the family members. Therefore, even though she had the physical inability, she could continue to be a successful entrepreneur. Moving on to the next case, he is my colleague in the university, Professor Saji Varghese. He is a PhD holder, and he is an associate professor in the language department, English department. Interestingly, he has got 2 patents, for his inventions. He's got some business ideas and got it invented. And it is a rare, opportunity to see a person from, literature background coming out, with a business idea to, execute, and that has become today a success story even. And today, he has, even been given space and the facilities to open up a center in the university to train, outsiders and help them to start businesses for the products that he has, patented. Let me share, the video of what is his product and his invention about. Hope you enjoy.
Sir, this video is no voice. Sir.
Okay, so to his credit, he was also part of the team that is with Honorable President, that visited Philippines on India's business delegation, visit. To that extent, he is today visible, and he has in turn contributed to the society as a young successful entrepreneur, besides his teaching as a career. I also have one last video. This video speaks about a woman who has become a successful entrepreneur in a district called Sivagangai in Tamil Nadu.
So your video audio is muted, sir. Amalnath, sir.
Okay, I'm sorry. I think am I audible?
Sir, yes, sir. Yes, sir, you're audible.
Audible. Okay, fine. Yeah. Um, yes, I'm extremely sorry. There was some error, I think, in the audio. It was not audible to the audience, I hear. So anyway, I've just some briefed you about those videos. I can share these, and it is available, on YouTube, also in the YouTube. You can anytime watch those videos. Moving on, like there is always a kind of confusion between a businessman and an entrepreneur. How do we differentiate whether someone is an entrepreneur or a businessman? This is keeping the young students who are at the verge of completing their degree programs. So if a person who comes out with his original idea of starting something which is not in existence, he or she can be considered as an entrepreneur who comes out with the idea. And whereas a businessman does not bother about whether the idea is his or her own, and they are even just they can even adopt others, and they just start making money. And entrepreneur, if you look at, they like to change the world. They are not happy with the way it is going on with the products or services, and they like to add some value to the world. Therefore, they always come out with something new. Whereas a businessman is not bothered about whether they are creating something new to the world. Their only concern is whether it is having a demand in the market. So their ultimate intention is making money. So obviously, an entrepreneur is adventurer who tries out, taking risk and seeing, what would happen. Whereas a businessman is a very calculative, person. They don't easily take risk. They are very realistic. They go with, proper, study. Only if they are assured of, due return, they would, venture into such activities. Whereas an entrepreneur, if you look at, they invent a product, where the businessman just sells a product. So entrepreneur is a thinker, and a businessman is just a doer. So it is indeed, good to ask, is it necessary that everybody has to become an entrepreneur? Okay. If you look at, the world reality, it's, very few who become entrepreneurs, and they, in turn become successful also. Majority, end up working for somebody. So is it everyone's, choice that they need to become an entrepreneur? Here I would like to highlight this, Sigmund Freud's principle of pain pleasure, principle. In fact, our beliefs, values, or all our actions and decisions are, built upon this principle. What do we look for? As an individual, if I want to have maximum pleasure and less pain, okay, of course, there can be, different types of pains and pleasures. There are short-term pains and short-term pleasures, long-term pains and long-term pleasures. So if a person wants to have short-term pain, okay, then what he would in turn see the reality is whether when I take an adventurous risk or adventure, is it going to give me only a short-term pain and give me a long-term pleasure? This is how we just measure our life. Sometimes an individual would say, I'm not bothered about what I'm going to enjoy in the long run, but I need to have immediate effect of my actions. Therefore they prefer short-term pleasures. So they are people who do not actually like to take so much of a risk. Rather they just want to go with short-term pleasures. In the long run they are not bothered about, and they don't believe in very long future as well. And I'm just planning to explain with an example, like if as an individual you want to you have taken a decision to lose your weight, yeah, then your the way to achieve this target is you need to do you have to take a proper diet to reach this target. So of course the diet in the process will be painful, but once you complete the diet practices successfully and you start practicing that, and your the happiness that you would derive from your action would be long lasting. So if you see in your journey towards losing a weight, your pain is going to be a short-term pain. Okay, it is working versus long-term pleasure. So for maybe 20 days or 30 days or even 1 month, I need to do this constantly without any deviations. Then I'm guaranteed that I will achieve my target. So there is a short-term pain, but what I'm gaining is a long-term pleasure. So after which I continue to enjoy a good physique and stature, and I become happy as well. But sometimes it is possible that during the process we may even get tempted that we slowly lose our diet. We don't practice our diets, and we give scope for deviations. When that is the case, it is in between short-term pain and long-term pleasure. There is also some short-term pleasure intervening. So when we seek any short-term pleasures, that will definitely affect our long-term pleasure. We will not be able to enjoy both. Okay, so why do I explain this principle here? As an individual, I have two choices. Okay, these are the two choices. Either I have to work for someone, or I work for my own self. So how do I decide, or why do people decide between either of this? It is simply based on the pain pleasure principle. One person who wants to take up the pain in the short span and have a long lasting pleasure and happiness would definitely end up taking up risk like an entrepreneur, as an entrepreneur, and they would take up all the risks and pain so that they have long term pleasure in the years to come. If a person looks for short-term pleasures, I'm in need of immediately some money, I don't have any money to invest or time to invest, I'm desperately looking for somebody to employ me and make use of me, and I want to just be happy with the immediate returns that I would fetch from the job, then he or she is being driven by the short-term pleasures, and they would end up in doing jobs for others. So the differentiation, the differences I have highlighted here, this is not something great, but it's just a reflection. So if you start a job as an employee, you start as an employee, but you start business as an owner if you're an entrepreneur. Then in the job as an employee, necessary commitments and loyalty is enough. Sometimes even there are individuals or employees who are not committed or who are not loyal to the jobs, but still they stick to their employment. Somehow they survive and make sure that they don't get fired. Whereas, an entrepreneur cannot just be like that, with less commitments and loyalty, or nil commitments and loyalty. An entrepreneur, a owner, has to be completely, committed and loyal to the business of his or her, idea. Then if you join, and work for someone, you will definitely get your regular income, salary. Generally, we don't get negative salary, but situation like, pandemic situation like this, sometime, you may lose your salary, but otherwise it is a guaranteed, regular income. But in the case of a business, yeah, either you have a profit or loss. Sometime, there is ups and downs. It is not a, regular thing. Regularly, you cannot, look for profit unless, you have established your business, and you have gained a reputation, and there is constantly going to be demand for your product or service. Only then there is a possibility that the business continues to experience continuous, revenue or profit. Of course, when you are an employee, you can meet your needs and wants. This is obvious for a businessman also, but sometimes they also struggle. And the further, differentiations will make, why this is very important. When you work for somebody, you continue to employ, oneself, in the sense you are always employing yourself. Your skill is being, employed. But when you, start a business, you initiate or start maybe as an employer or employee also at the beginning, but gradually you begin to generate employment to other people. And in the jobs that you do as an employee, your wealth creation is very limited. But in the business, there is higher chance, because you are taking high risk. Therefore, there is also possibility for maximum wealth creations. Then, as an employee, you retire. Uh, but as a business owner, you don't have any retirement. Only when you want to, you can transfer your ownership to your children. So there is, again, when you are an employee and you are comfortable with this, there is always a possibility that your children also may take a similar life cycle. Of course, there are also people who take a risk. Again, it is based on the principle of pain and pleasure. So if the child wants to take pain in the beginning, and wants to have a happy life as a business owner by employing many and creating wealth, they will definitely change this cycle. The other way also it can happen. Okay, so it is mainly by the pain pleasure principle. I believe that people either end up taking up risk of new business ideas with the business ideas, or they end up working for somebody. Do you want to be an entrepreneur, having listened to the pros and cons of being an employee or working for somebody, and being your own boss? If so, then what you should be doing? The first step, I believe, is that an entrepreneur has to prepare himself or herself first. Okay. So you need to set a goal to yourself. Okay, what is that I want to achieve? Okay, and you need to also see what are the limiting behaviors or habits that might hold me back. Okay, sometimes there are youngsters who come out with ideas, but I'm sorry, I think in between I some network issue. Am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the second step is, you need to, after having built a positive, image about yourself and your goal, you need to also continue to take up the risk of, seeing what is that, what or where you would, find yourself, down the line, the 5 years time, if you continue to indulge in the same behaviors, or if you change your behaviors. So you need to change your mindset to take, pain, obviously, because no entrepreneur has become successful without taking any pains in the initial phases. Then the third step would be break your unhelpful pattern or pattern interrupt. So there are some behaviors which as I said in the first step itself, that may not help you to progress further. You need to do a self introspection and see which are those behaviors that you need to change in yourself. Then select a new empowering behavior. So this is where an important turning point happens in your life. You decide how you want to see yourself and behave, and based on your positive convictions and your abilities, then you build a particular image for yourself, or behavior for yourself. And you need to continuously believe in that, and constantly work. So inspire within yourself with proactive actions. Then once you continue this, automatically your behavior becomes a habit. Then you become a successful entrepreneur. Of course, it is not an easy task that one fine morning you decide, and the next week you change yourself. It is really a challenging task. That's the reason why we find not everybody becomes entrepreneurs, and even if they initiate, they don't become successful entrepreneurs. The reasons for failure is that they have not discovered themselves properly, and not strengthened themselves personally well. Also, there are also opportunities that from outside you will be challenged. So not only preparing yourself within, from within, also the external environment also should be conducive. So if you look at the Indian context, the present central government has lots of options for the young entrepreneurs to begin their to explore their entrepreneurial activities, to become self-reliant in every sector. Now, if you, I don't know how many of the students have visited this particular website, Udyami. This website, if you visit, it has so much of features which a student I'm just taking you through this website. It has several options. If you just click each of these icons, as a entrepreneur who wants to take up some entrepreneurial risk, you will benefit a lot, I believe. You have lots of inputs, like in the form of videos. You can even upskill. There is an icon called skilling. If you click that, you give you get an option of in which areas you want to upskill your skills, and become a successful entrepreneur. Also they have so many project reports, okay, that will help an entrepreneur to have an idea, like how do I prepare a report to get my loans sanctioned. And there are model reports available, and it is also like about each of these businesses, what are their potentials, how someone has begun this business in agro-based food processing, or small business models, or cement and allied products. So like this, you have varied options available to every person who wants to aspire as an entrepreneur. And you also have something called EDP training, that is entrepreneurship development training programs. If a person wants to avail the finance schemes uh, extended by the central and state governments, he or she has to obtain this EDP training completion certificate. It is an online course which one can easily complete by clicking this option. You will see the step by step, or it is it's progressive in nature. One can attend all of these courses. The videos are available. Then on completion of this training program, he or she gets a training completion certificate. Once you obtain that certificate, then you can with the certificate you can avail the financial assistance that is available with the central and state governments. That is the way that our Indian government today is encouraging all the youngsters to come out with their entrepreneurial ideas that they have, and venture into the world of business, and see to what extent they can excel and become successful entrepreneurs. Government is extending its support in every way possible. It is the young minds who have to decide to take the risk. I'm at the verge of completing my session. Remember, it is important that entrepreneur an entrepreneur is not a job title. Okay, it's a state of mind, the people who want to alter the future. So if you think that by starting a business you're going to have a big title and your life is going to be with full of bed of roses, and you will not have any difficulties and challenges, your life is going to be completely comfortable, and I think then you are the person who is not fit to be an entrepreneur. But rather it is a kind of a state of mind that you are aspiring to take risk, and by taking risk and by facing the pains, that you are looking for long-term pleasures. Therefore, as an outcome of your pain, you are also aiming to change or make changes to the future, to the society, and the world at large. Then, in the words of Swami Vivekananda, take risk in life. If you win, you can lead, and if you lose, you can guide. And the final quote from my end is, if you don't take risks, you will always work for someone who does, which means somebody who is employing you has already taken the risk. And if you want to be an employer and create so many employment opportunities and help yourself and your country to become self-reliant and a developed nation, and I believe that more and more entrepreneurs have to emerge, and our education system has to enable our young minds to think differently than just looking for only governments to provide employment opportunities. Only then I believe that our society will become a developed nation, developed society, and everyone will have adequate wealth and live a happy life. Thank you so much for patiently listening to my talk on entrepreneurship. Now I'm open to any questions from the
Participants, you can post your questions in the chat box.
I'm not sure whether I have an option to read the chat box. If you can, please read out the questions.
Participants, if you have any questions, any clarifications, any doubts, you can post in the chat box. Amal sir?
Yes.
There is a question.
Yes.
Shall I read out?
Yep, please, sir.
In the situation of COVID-19, where social distancing and work from home, please suggest one viable and high demand product startup with minimum cost and maximum profits.
Okay. Yeah, fine. See, for an entrepreneur, don't look for ideas from others. Okay, that would be my humble advice, because you know your environment and where you want to locate your business and who would be your target audience. So it is advised that you take up a kind of a preliminary study to understand the environment and also understand yourself first. Only then you will be able to take up the initiative. So it cannot be like somebody advised me, somebody told this is a product that is highly demanded now, therefore let me jump into. Such kind of moves will not help you. Okay. And because the context in which I'm answering to your question may be different from that of yours. So you need to always think in your context, keeping your target audience in mind, what would be their demand or need or want for that matter, and take a call. Okay. Also the available resources with you, because I might advise you some products, which you may or may not be interested in, that you should be also passionate about doing something. It should not be somebody's advice, therefore I will end up, or enter into doing that business. Such kind of business initiatives do not last long. So I would always suggest that, don't think that I'm not giving you any direct answers, but this is how entrepreneurs emerge. Okay, they just observe and see the difficulties that the people face in a particular situation, and read what exactly is the a need that the end users are having. Then try to what do you call, make use of that opportunity. It should not be ready made, like there is a textbook or there is a website, these are the opportunities you start. Not like that. Then it is just a business. Okay, you can start any business which is already successful. There are so many products that have come into market during this phase of pandemic situation, and there is huge demand for such products. Therefore you can also start like anybody, any other person. Then you just act as a businessman or a businesswoman. You are not acting as an entrepreneur.
Thank you, sir. Any more question? Participants, you can post your questions in the chat box if you want to ask.
Your chat box is disabled. That's the reason people are not able to post their questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Participants, if you don't have any question, we shall wind up. Please post your question from the chat. If you have any questions, please post in the chat box.
Chat box is disabled.
Ma'am, you can ask the question, ma'am.
Actually, that was the question I was asking about, and particularly regarding, the situation is so worse now. People are staying at home. They have lost their jobs. Actually, it is easy for them to start, but some motivation. But some motivation has to be provided to them. So, the people are not in a situation to actually identify because their mind have stopped working. So giving roundway answers may not help the people, you know. So that was the reason I was asking, because this is the norm now and we have to live with it. It's not going away from us for 2 years, according to WHO report. So in this scenario, particularly this, you have seen also people are committing suicide, which is a coward act, which I don't support it. But so to work in that way, if more specific answers are provided than a generic one, would really help us.
Okay, fine. Yeah, I got your point. Yeah. See, why I was very generic, in my answer is that, um, I, as a person who has done so much of reading on this, and I myself is not an entrepreneur. Okay, I have read, and I have also interacted with such successful people. When I asked them, how did you get such ideas when nobody thought about? Okay, it's all just because they themselves have experienced some of that pain, and they wanted to find a solution to that pain that resulted in a kind of economic activity or entrepreneurial activity. So the pain that I may undergo in the given context is definitely different from that of someone who is asking this question. That's the reason I said it should come from within and from your own experiences. Okay, either you should have seen that reality or you should have lived that reality. Only then you will be able to come out with a solid product or service which will solve or find a solution to that problem. I might sound again, it's very generic, but I don't see there is any, like ready-made, answer books available in the market where you just buy that and the next morning after reading or after listening to somebody, you become an entrepreneur. If that way, entrepreneurship doesn't, happen. It is again, it takes some time, first of all, for a person to get convinced, okay, what is a need or want that he or she has seen in the market, and he or she will also do a study whether how long this need will be there, and they will try to project and see whether what is the resources available in the given context, like in the pandemic situation. What is a product? Of course there are so many products that are highly demanded now to keep people themselves clean and to save. But then how long this would be in need or demand. And even if you want to provide a solution, there are already giants in the market. So is it only to keeping this particular pandemic situation in mind and come out with a product, or something that is lasting? Okay, of course you can also come out with a product which is seasonal, only for this 2 years or 3 years. During this situation your product may be demanded, uh, but I would say that you are not an entrepreneur, you are acting as a businessman, because your ultimate intention is to just to exploit the situation. Yeah, nothing much beyond. You are not having a long-term vision. Just within this 2 years or 3 years, how much of money that you can mint, you just do it. Then you are acting as a businessman. There are so many business opportunities already existing ones. You need to only just imitate. But when I say entrepreneur doesn't act, or he doesn't react. He always responds. He thinks, takes sufficient time and studies, then ventures into the market. And he has a long-term what do you call, goal and objective also that benefits the society.
Thank you, sir. Participants, any more question? If you have any question, you can mute yourself, and then you can unmute and you can ask the question, or you can post in the chat box. I hope there is no question means everybody understood clearly. Participants, any more question? If there is no question, we shall wind up. Thank you, sir, for your nice presentation. Amar sir.
Welcome, sir.
So it's a time to propose the vote of thanks. Gratitude is the best attitude. In that manner, once again, I appear in front of you. Good evening to all the virtual participants. This webinar is not on one-man show. Many of them contributed their wonderful time and work for the successful completion of this webinar. First, I bow my head before God Almighty for showering His blessings upon us during this webinar. I thank our college management, Reverend Father Henry Jerome, the Rector, St. Save's Institution, Palingote, Reverend Father Alphonse Monicam, the Secretary, St. Save's College, Palingote, and Reverend Father Marilas, the Principal, and other Jesuit fathers in the campus for their wonderful guidance and support. Thank you, respected Reverend Fathers. My wholehearted thanks to the resource person, Dr. Samalanathan, Head, School of Business and Management, Christ, deemed to be University, Bangalore, for giving an excellent insight on startups which will strengthen to uplift India. I also thank our IPC coordinator, Dr. Nurgusamy, and his team for their support and help. Thank you, sir. My sincere gratitude to Dr. S. Arutya, Head and Associate Professor of Commerce, for his guidance. Thank you, sir. I sincerely thank Mr. Joe Boston Xavier, the coordinator of Commerce Shift 2, for his tremendous support day and night for making this webinar a perfect one. I also thank my colleagues for their encouragement, motivation, and support. Thank you, sir. I also thank the technical team of our college, Mr. Winston, Dr. Sivabaranathan, Mr. Savayam, Mr. Sankar, and the team for their timely support for the success of this webinar in the perfect way. I also thank my students, Ms. Anushya and her team, and Sakti and his team for their support. Thank you. Last but not least, I thank all the virtual participants for your active participation. Without your participation, this webinar will not getting success. So thank you all. Once again, I thank all of you. Thank you so much. The feedback link will be shared in the chat box. Participants kindly fill and submit immediately. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Our time.
Participants, the feedback link is shared in the chat box. Kindly fill and submit immediately.